If you could all please take your seats. We're about to start. Please take your seats. You in the back. You in the back, I see you. Take your seats. Okay, welcome. We're going to get started. If everyone could just take a seat. Yay. Did everyone get a croissant? All right, great. Okay, we're going to give it 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're not careful, I'm going to sing. Okay. Welcome back to Metabolic Studio. It's so exciting to have all of these familiar faces back in the warehouse of On Development 2. And thanks to a few of you for bringing your friends and sharing the work that we're doing here. So just a couple review of the logistics. We have restrooms. Feel free to use them at will. You'll find them kind of located in the center near the big roll-up doors. So, and then if you please take photos, videos, whatever you'd like. Just if you tag or post them on social media, please tag Metabolic Studio. And I just want to say again, thank you all for coming and sharing your time with us. We had this fall, from the beginning of October till the week, almost 500 people come through and look at our project. So we're very excited to share that, and we want to keep spreading the word. So it's really fun looking at this whole front of On Development folks who are going to share their projects with us today. And now Millie Mason Moore.
Great morning, everyone. I'm going to start by acknowledging the land. I'm ready to do it. Yeah, thank you. If you can't hear me, just raise your voice. Raise your hand. Metabolic Studio recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tonga, Gabrielino, Quiche, and Chumash peoples. We honor and pay respect to their elders and their descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement is our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are also dedicated to sustaining and growing relationships with Native peoples and local tribal governments. And with that, we are honored to welcome Gabrielino Shoshone Nation Tribal Council member, Jamie Rocha, who will share a tribal welcome and overly blessing statement. Thank you, Jamie, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Miha Tohadamet, Vanana Jamie Rocha, Nikaka Tomia Chief Feder Rocha, Nika Chief Nicholas Rocha, Nomanki Gabrielino Shoshone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamie Rocha. I am a tribal council member with the Gabrielino Shoshone Nation of Southern California. I am the granddaughter of the late Sky Chief Vera Rocha and daughter of the current chairman, Nicholas Rocha. Just good morning. Blessings to everyone. It's amazing.
I'm actually a feed your kid, so maybe I'll just do that. That's what I get when I used to get in trouble in class. And I'm like, she's not, I want to be your choir, please. obviously, for having us today. Us in the Galveston Shoshone Nation have a special relationship with Metabolic Studio. Metabolic Studio, if you haven't heard, help us obtain in the city, in the history in the city of Los Angeles, the biggest land back to a Native peoples in LA history that now is now residing in by Pasadena right there in Monterey Hills. With their help in their election, we were able to obtain something that I thought I would never see in my lifetime, and I'm almost 40 years old. So, and well, my dad in the 60s, stuff you will never see, as a indigenous peoples in a world city, prime real estate like Los Angeles, and to be able to do that with their partnership and their love and their support and their, overall just, backing us, be able to do that. And we named it after my grandmother's Chiquiana, their original learning village. Pretty much creating it to be at the center of indigenous knowledge and a place where indigenous youth can go there and feel like they have a place to belong. It's often in Los Angeles. We have to always ask for permission to use our spaces, to hold ceremony, to be able just to get a permit to do stuff that we should naturally be allowed to, and to be able to have that and with the support with organizations like this. I am forever grateful, but also kind of thinking about what he's thinking about today. About talking with Millie about the premise of your work and everything was doing, and your work is probably more important now than ever right now. As we've seen the changes that are coming, within the next couple months, the next couple of years. Your work is going to be the epicenter of how our environment is protected. How we are, how we're going to fight. I think what you're doing and what we do is a form of protest. It's a form of resistance. It's a form of speaking for those that are often speak down, because even though as indigenous peoples, even though we've seen a lot of progress, there is still so much work to do. And as we're hearing of, encouragement of, investing in our country and, bypassing environmental protocols and permits, we're going to see a direct attack, not only on indigenous land, especially sovereign land, but just resources that we all benefit from, what we all live on. And, and I think people will really, especially who are not, educated or know that, our water, our land, it's so sensitive right now. It's, people don't realize how really close to the edge, how close to midnight we are with our fire. And then, we're often live in a society that it's so individualistic. We always worry what we need now, fast, Well, we need to be satisfied now and how precious and take for granted, like our water, our land, our skies, our mountains, our plants, we see those as relatives, we see them die as deaths. So for your work to have undeveloped, the development, the damage, it's so important in your work, and I just want to commend you for that. And as a representative for my tribe, and as one of the indigenous groups, I call it LA Los Angeles. I just thank you. I really encourage you. I know it gets discouraged a lot. I say that too as indigenous people when I display the work that I do. I'm like, hey, it's discouraging a lot. But knowing that this is my duty, and this is knowing that I have family who were killed and enslaved for doing the work they do, and being able to have the privilege and the chance to do it now. It's what really brings me through. And I just welcome you to, we are near our ancestral lands, our villages of Yagna, which is now downtown Los Angeles, in our rural, what we call Domabar. And just to open the space, right, and I'm going to be singing you an ancestral song that was, I learned from my aunt, Tina Gabaron from the Gabaron Otomba band, and from Chief Michael McBurney from the Shoshone Corona band. and things. So I just present to you as a gift and this encouragement. The song we're singing is saying good morning to good day to our ancestors and recognizing our four directions, which is sacred to us. And just thank you so much. And I really look forward to this beautiful relationship. And I really look forward to seeing the projects and the work that you're doing. You know, it's like I said, doing this kind of work, speaking our language, it's all a form of protest and resistance to things that they don't want to do. So I'm going to be singing this for you. Thank you. Wishing you well. Thank you so much.
I'd like to offer gratitude, Jamie, for your presence here today and your blessings. And I'd like to start our event by a minute of just silence. I'm gonna play the gong, and I invite you to just breathe and get into your bodies for a minute and let go of everything so that we can be present to hear what comes next. I'll make a gong in a minute so we can come out of it together.
Take a few deep breaths in and out. And I invite you, when the time is right, to introduce yourself to somebody in this room that you don't know. Just let them know your name or whatever else. Give them a gesture. Maybe just wave to somebody. Sometimes that's all it takes if you don't feel like using your voice, but make a little contact. And right before they did a ritual, like a ritual of sharing or building a vision like we're about to hear, through a collective action of storytelling, is in a way what a San mandala is, right? It's like taking the time to take some time out to pay attention. And that's really why we're here today. And we're here today on Friday the 13th, which is a notoriously unlucky day, right? To think about the latent potentiality we call bad luck. Bad luck means that you assume there's good luck. That differentiates today from any other day, right? So if we look at a bad luck day as an opportunity to unlock the door towards moving toward good luck, then part of that action is to come together in times of darkness. Like when we're afraid of things like bad luck, to collectively find that keyhole. And I'm hoping we're going to hear some of that today. In fact, I know we're going to hear some of that today. So I really want to thank all of the people who came out today and prepared a presentation to share with the community. It's such an honor for us at Metabolic Studio, after just 11 weeks of leading tours in this warehouse and having teach-ins, to be able to have our first class of undevelopers come up and share with us and keep us all something. I have so much more to say about like the lists of words that came out of this and the list of actions that may spring out of it, but I just wanted to start by offering my gratitude to all of you for what I know I'm about to learn and we're about to learn, and to offer my deep thanks to all of the people at Metabolic Studio who helped make this pedagogical performance possible. And we'll go through all of those names later, because now I want to give full and undivided attention to this first cohort, this first development. And I think I get summing up later, right? Or is this it?
You get it.
Let's just say in case I don't or it just goes on, which could happen. This is not the ending of something, it's the beginning of something. And we'll be coming together on the first full moon in January to unpave the first parking spot and clean it up and put clean soil in it with a big bonfire and a gathering to get the new year going. So I think that's on Sunday, the 12th of January. So you'll be hearing from us, and that'll be starting off our year of action. Time to get the jackhammer.
Okay, so just a few logistics. We've been having these teach-ins and workshops after every tour since they've started, basically. And those workshops were to let anybody who wanted to come and talk about the ideas of undevelopment to come and talk about it a little deeper. And from that, the undevelopment ideas that you're about to see presented to you. So I know a few of us, Maru and Diego and I, were a little nervous a few weeks ago that we'd be the ones making up presentations, but got an overwhelming number of presentations. There's 18, which they're all varied and super exciting, so can't wait. So we gave you comment cards and pencils, and each of the presenters is numbered. So we gave you those so that you could put a number down and put your comments or questions for each of those people. And then we're going to have a Q&A after all the presentations, so you'll be able to refer to those cards and ask questions. With that, we'll have a mic stand here. You'll get in a line. We'll talk about that after the presentations. But all the presentations are also on that table printed out, so you can comment and leave your comment cards there. We'll compile everything so all the undevelopers get feedback. And so without that, with no further ado, we're going to start out with Hannah Beedman's presentation. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it here today, so we'll just play this as the number one. So mark on your cards, number one. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannah Beedman, lovely to be here. I am an award-winning filmmaker and artist, and I'm trained in shamanic work for the past 25 years, and the project I'm proposing involves another person, my friend Lucy Johnston. We are pitching today for a concept I came up with called counterclockwise, or the forklift dances, or Widershins. And in Old German, Widershins means to go backwards against the sun. And thereby you enter fairyland. And from there you can enact magic. It's an undoing. It's a counterclockwise spell, and it's a ritual scene that we wish to enact. And it involves forklift trucks and scissor lifts. So 4 people come in and we have the scene. They climb onto their machines, and we will have a choreographer, abstract jazz musicians making instruments out of the metal and the wood, with call and response and abstraction and words of work and things like formations, like crop circles. Forklifts will go backwards to undo the concrete of the ground, to undo the toxicity of the site, to prepare the site. And prior to every enactment is site-specific. And we would ask workers in the site-specific places for their agricultural dances as they go in this beautiful choreographed dance with the musicians wandering in and out. They will call also to the site-specific beings, non-human life, whether it's the clouds coming through, the water beneath, coyote brush, a mountain lion, and the previous occupants, the antelope, anybody who wishes to be honored, which will be determined by the previous shamanic work, which will clear the space, much like clearing a haunted house. And so as they go in these undoing circles in this beautiful mechanized formation, where man meets machine, they will also be calling in the non-human life. This is envisaged to start at the heart of the city, which is where the Arroyo Seco meets the LA River. And so I imagine it starting in Lincoln Heights by the river, and where all the trains and the freeways intertwine. Thereafter, it would be a traveling show, and it would go to Vernon, which I know used to be beautiful farmland. So all these are like aortas of the heart. You know, it would travel to different warehouses and different sites of undoing, of dereliction, and maybe have different teams, and always involving local community, children, families. It's a universal play to bring people of all communities together. We would always and first consult with Tongva. This is a joyful inaction. It undoes the seriousness of work. It undoes the hurting of the land. It brings joy back into the workplace and play. In fact, it's like when you're a child and you go to sleep at night thinking your toys are coming to life in the night. It's like a hijacking of the workplace into fairyland, into the place of timelessness, the liminality to enliven the land beneath. So it is a cross-cultural act of love from the ground up. So thank you for listening, and truly this piece comes from love. Thank you.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Hi, I'm Lonnie Trock. The piece I'm presenting about today is called Tend to Care. Yes? Oh, sure. You can do it for me. Yeah, thanks. It's part of a meta project called unearth, which is envisioning a new operating system for the planet that evolves away from a competitive capitalist logic and into a care-centered model for society. By way of an open source community choir, group improvisational singing practice, and cleanup along the LA River, this community gathering intends to honor and deepen our relationship to ourselves, each other, and with this vital body of water and its surrounding land. Together, as we clean and sing, we offer this collective care to this time and space. So this image was from an expression of this piece that happened in 2022 on the LA River underneath the 2 freeway. Next slide, please. Yeah. So Tend to Care is a participatory performance piece, an open source protocol, and the piece explores the ways in which we care for ourselves, each other, and the environments we inhabit. This practice imagines how we might reshape society in favor of our collective benefit, away from the profit motives at center and towards a culture of care and well-being. This proposal intends to create a new expression of this work on the LA River as either a bi-monthly or quarterly series. Next slide. How am I doing? This is a video from for this expression, we started in, Noah Klein, who's a naturalist here in LA and co-founder of Living Earth, He started with giving us a bit of natural history about this part of the LA River, and then Meg Shoemaker led us in a group silent meditation. And then Aaron Shaw, a saxophonist, began playing saxophone, and we began singing along with him playing saxophone. And then he continued to play, and we got up cleaning the rivers, as depicted here. And I think I'll just skip. Okay, yeah. So this is a picture of Aaron. This is a shopping cart that some people pulled out of the river, which is depicted in the next slide. But some of the prior collaborators who have been a part of bringing this vision to life was Aaron Shaw, pictured here on sax, Meg Shoemaker, Noah Klein. This presentation was brought to life by Living Earth in collaboration with the LA Nomadic Division. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, so as stated before, I would like to present this either quarterly or bi-monthly on the LA River starting in February. The materials needed are biodegradable trash bags and gloves and snacks. Next slide, please. So this is people pulling out the shopping cart. You can hear Aaron playing in the background, and I think that's good. That's me and Meg sitting in meditation ahead of the beginning of the meditation. Yeah, am I ahead of time? Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, thank you so much for your consideration. Happy to be here today.
Hi there. My name is Nancy Hanover Reyes. I have a project called Poetry, and it's a project that I've been developing in my mind because I've worked for the past 20 years in my own neighborhood in Mid-City, where we've worked in collaboration. Neighbors and friends have worked in collaboration with CD10, Council District 10, to get about 100 trees planted. Most recently was 30 trees about a month ago. And so I've learned a lot of the logistics of like promoting the cause and changing the street. It's Pico Boulevard, by the way. And so I've been thinking about how we can create more actions like that, but also involving artists. And I luckily went to Germany this summer and had a chance to go to Kassel and see some of the trees that Joseph Beuys planted, and that whole movement of planting trees. We're going to get 100 trees in Elysian Park planted through that initiative that was originally 7,000 oak trees, and we're going to get 100 here and 10 more on the west side, I believe. And so I've been developing this idea that artists can do more to help to protect the trees in our city, which are very vulnerable. Just because you plant a tree doesn't mean it's going to survive. And it seems like nobody has the funding to prune the trees properly. You go to some other cities, they have big budgets and they take really good care of their trees. We barely get them planted, and we're lucky if they survive. So this is an idea to engage artists to become urban tree advocates and think of poetic ways to draw attention to trees, to motivate more tree planting at a grassroots level so that an individual citizen can do something. You don't have to go downtown and beg. You know, you can bring attention to a tree that you love that's being butchered by the, say, a business person who doesn't like that it's blocking their sign. We see a lot of these crimes being committed all the time. Anyway, so it's for all of us, basically, and I don't want to read for you, but this is something that all of us will benefit from. And where will it happen? Well, LA County has 88 cities in it. I think that's a good size to start with. And then, yeah, so this group, if we form a group like this, we can be a study group, and we can go to different sites around the city, get to know other areas that have the need, and sort of put our heads together to figure out solutions or how to celebrate special trees in certain neighborhoods. Finally, there's a poem here that I thought was super relatable for undevelopment. And I've been doing a lot of research and finding other artists that are doing things. The first slide is of the feeling of like a tree being, butchered. And then there's a typical LA tree that is gonna maybe continue to grow. And then there's an artist kind of showing the life force of a tree in a very simple way. And let me see what else. So we have the logistics and the pitches, to join forces with others to develop meaningful, worthwhile action projects. Basically select a tree and do something to help it. Maybe that's the tree well. Also advocate for larger tree wells so that it's not just a 4x4. There's a lot of things that we can do. So thank you very much, and I hope you are inspired by this project.
Good morning, everybody. For being here. My name is Matthew James Wilson. I'm the founder of Heavy Manners Library. Heavy Manners is a lending library and community art space based in Echo Park. This is a photo of the space. The LA Times recently produced a video about us, and I think it does a pretty succinct job of explaining the work we're doing. So I'm going to play that. The original idea was to make a book, and now I've created something completely different from that.
Libraries are something special. They're social service centers. They provide internet access, a book, or simply a place to sit unbothered for hours. Now, imagine a small business that operated on that same ethos. Well, you might find that here in Echo Park at Heavy Manners Library. Co-founder Matthew James Wilson was working on a book, but ended up starting this art space and lending library.
The original idea for the book was about how the internet has shaped art making over the past 30 years. The internet that I remember growing up with is so different from what the internet feels like now. I think I really wanted to get back to the idea of like surfing and navigating and ending up somewhere that you never expected to. It sort of all culminated into this idea of starting an independent library. Art education is really cost prohibitive. Things that you get out of going to school can be really hard to replicate without the sort of framework of a college. The real political aspect of the space is thinking about access. Who is entitled to information or who is entitled to art and education? There's like a totally free way to experience the space. You can sit on this couch and escape the world outside for a little bit, or they can sign up for a membership to borrow the books.
They've hosted over 500 events, from death cafes to figure drawing classes. Tonight, I'm at a screening of experimental films made by women, inspired by Cuban-American artist Ana Mendieta.
I feel like I can sometimes really sense the urgency for a place that you're practicing art and not just thinking about your career. A lot of animators have really participated within this space and really made it what it is. I think because the space is really serving a community at this point, I really want to figure out how this space can be operated more as a community versus just me being in charge and figuring out the fate of everything.
You can drop by the library at the corner of Sunset and Alvarado, and maybe even attend their holiday market and craft fair on the weekend after Thanksgiving. That's Saturday, November 30th and Sunday, December 1st.
Yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, as I mentioned in the video, our primary focus has been art education and trying to make that more accessible to people. But coming to the Metabolic Studio, doing the tour and learning about Lauren and everybody's work has been so inspiring. And I think where we've been thinking about undevelopment as far as higher education and making that more accessible and equitable, I think there's a lot of potential for us to continue this work through environmentalism and the goal development. So what we want to propose is a workshop series and eventual publication that would take place over the course of 2025. We would, I think these are some old slides in here. All right, well, I'm just going to go back. But yeah, we would essentially do a bunch of workshops, and then we would have an exhibition of the work from the workshops. The goal of the project would be to build on development, and it would hopefully be a way for us to incorporate some of the ideas that you guys have been doing here with a bunch of different nonprofits workshops already. There's a few listed here, and we have a bunch of ideas of workshops that we have done in the past that are connected to undevelopment. And yeah, we also want to reach out to everybody who's here to pitch ideas and think about how the space can serve undevelopment. Pardon? Sorry. So much. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Leslie, and today I'd like to share about an undevelopment project that's very close to home. So my husband and I love to garden. We've been members of Community Garden in the past. We've been on permaculture projects in Northern California and Southern Oregon, but we realized that we really neglected the land right in front of our home in Los Angeles. And so we approached our landlord, and he was down for us to grow some edible herbs and vegetables in the lawn. But unfortunately, when we did a soil test, we found the lead was above the healthy limits. And then we had this different idea for a full-on remediation project and a raised garden bed, and he was very skeptical, but said, you know what, send me a proposal, and I don't think he thought we actually would, but we did, and I'd like to share the process of what we ended up doing. So this is our yard, and those of you who went on the tour would be very familiar with this sandwich combo. Starting with zeolite to make the lead less bioavailable, compost and wood chips from the city, and a ground cover. And a really large garden bed, like 8 by 4 by 2.5. Yeah, and the main reason I wanted to share this today is thinking in terms of community sharing, and how can we just share our process, share the proposal we wrote, maybe guidelines for people who want to talk to their landlord and don't know how, and also think about lowering the barriers to entry. So thinking about tools. What would it look like to have a tool lending library for people to have shovels, shovels, wheelbarrows, things like that. My husband had a truck that was super helpful. And also bulk zeolite. You cannot get zeolite in person anywhere in LA. You have to order it ahead of time. And it was the day before Thanksgiving. We wanted to finish this project before going away. This whole yard was covered with piles of wood chips that would be left there for like 2 weeks. So we ended up finding some on Facebook Marketplace. But bulk zeolite would be really great. And also when we get a hand on what resources are available, thinking about putting a neighborhood flyer or zine out to let people know. And more of this will be in the printed pitch over there, but just highlighting a little bit about how we pitch to our landlord, thinking about mitigating risk, making the land look better, and also offering edible plants to our neighbors. There's also a subtext of the pitch, which is basically like, it's gonna be way easier to do what we want than ignore us, highlighting the harm, the truth. Highlight cost, you can let us do what you want, or this is what it would cost to hire people. And also alluding to past grievances. So not quite blackmail, but effective. And yeah, when we think about undevelopment, we're really inspired by the tour and just thinking about how can we look around and see what's the truth of what's happening right outside of our door, how can we help, and how can we just make this better for ourselves and other beings? And what's next? So we'd love to, if possible, spread the word about free lead testing at Metabolic Studios. Think about where we can get bulk zeolite. and assess if there's interest in a tool library. So if you're in Silver Lake on Waverly Drive, come stop by. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Isaac. I'm a graduate from the University of California, Davis's landscape architecture program. And so when I faced this project, I really wanted to do something site specific. I wanted to find a site, paint some pretty drawings, put some pretty plants, call it a day. With only a few weeks though, I had to really just take a step back. Sites were coming and going. And so I figured, why don't I just outline this site? And I came up with this undeveloper's toolkit. So before we approach any problem, I really think it's important why, and I think you guys are all very familiar with why should we be undeveloping. That's what. But to keep it brief, there's lots of negative consequences that come from overdevelopment, diversity, polluted soils, spaces. And so what this toolkit would be is a resource to support your own undevelopment. And ideally, it would look something like this. You take a developed space that doesn't look great, apply this toolkit and create an undeveloped space that looks much better. And so this is a two-part approach. And so there's a physical toolkit that outlines and supports undevelopment. This includes like a brochure, like speaks a bit about the conceptual issues when you're approaching undevelopment, like the whys, the hows, and for who. But then there's also physical components about the technicalities. So what kind of plants should you be using and how you're gonna solve like the irrigation issue, for example. Also included in the toolkit would be seed mix, starting plants, and garden equipment. So all materials to kind of lower the barriers of entry into creating your own underdevelopment. So there's no excuses. And it could also include soil testing kits and rainwater catchment barrels to solve the irrigation issue if we have any donors. But all this really means nothing without a very strong community to support it. And so I'm also proposing creating some sort of community web or infrastructure that really finds community partners with special skills and talents, tools, experience, and bring them together to support your guys' own undevelopment. Undevelopment is not only spatial, it also takes place in our society and in our economy. And so I think it's really crucial that to the best of our ability, this web functions through non-monetary changes and doesn't engage with capitalism. I'd like to quickly acknowledge prior art. It's a term my professor used. I guess it's used a lot in intellectual property law, but I don't want to get into that. Metabolic Studio, I'm sure you've heard of, we're taking on lots of undevelopment projects. That's why you're here. Someone else that came to mind was Testpot, and they're doing a lot of ecological work based on like land stewardship. Leslie's project was pretty amazing. And so the point in all this is that there's not a novel idea. There's existing infrastructure and programs that we can build off of and use and collaborate with. Just for the sake of being thorough, there's the big where question, and I'm sure you've guessed it, this could really be anywhere. Throughout this project, I'm sure you've all throughout this presentation, I'm sure you've all imagined a space in your mind, something you walk by, somewhere you work by that you would like to see undeveloped. And that brings us to next steps, and really there's space for everybody in undevelopment, and I think it's actually crucial that we get the most amount of people that we can. So I'd like to invite you guys to think about, what are some skills that you can provide, or some skills that you need, some spaces that you would see. Please feel free to email me. I totally want to kind of start talking and have this conversation. I'll also be like walking around if you guys want to see me. But I do want to leave you with the question, where do you guys fit with undevelopment? Thank you.
Just 1 second. I know some people are chilly. We have Antoine with a basket of blankets. Raise your hand if you want a blanket. Blanket, blanket, blanket. He's gonna throw you a blanket. Also, don't all get up at once because we're about to have another amazing presentation. But there is hot water in the water dispenser in the back. So not all at once, but here you go. We got a blanket pass out. Raise your hand. Small intermission. Thank you, Antoine, for the heads up. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jasmine. I am an audio engineer by trade. It's kind of new to this whole, all these concepts, but I would love to create and build a recording studio that is centered around, oh, wrong way. That is surrounded by plants and constructed with mycelium insulation in place of acoustic treatments that are normally made with fiberglass, rock wool, other manufactured materials. But yeah, the idea is to create a nonprofit recording studio and event space focused, I'm just gonna read this, co-creating, harmonizing with living plants and mycelium, using sustainable acoustic treatments and solar energy. And another facet of this would be educational programming that would house all these materials as like a living case study demonstrating how mycelium can transform a building and interior while promoting eco-friendly practices. And the hope is to teach music production to people who want to learn, especially through plants. There's this device right here called Plant Wave, where I'll show you more. It utilizes electrodes, goodness, wrong way, to pick up electric variations from plants. And that data, like there's electric information coming from plants, and that will be converted to pitch or modulation information for digital instruments. And that's just another way for people to create music. There's one that you can hook it up to anywhere, but you can get a sound in the studio that you can record as well. Here's an example of just hooking up to mycelium itself. Oh, if the internet will. It's really cute. You can choose different sounds for, if anyone knows music instruments like this MIDI signal. Oh, good. Okay, it's okay. It makes really cute bleep bloops. And it's functioning in this way that like polygraphs work with electric signals. Aw. It goes like with mushrooms. Okay, and like I had earlier, so they even make furniture with mycelium now with this same mycelium insulation, like this lamp right here. These are kind of like what the panels would look like, and if anyone's familiar with recording studios, acoustic paneling is pretty important to the process of listening in an accurate way. There's even this furniture that I would like this space to be furnished by. This is a furniture that's made of mycelium and hemp, and is very sturdy. Decorations in general with mycelium, there's a lot of benefits to it. It's flame retardant, very lightweight, so great for transportation, and you grow it yourself. It's not manufactured, so it's very easy to produce, very cost effective, and either way, studio building can be very expensive and also very extremely wasteful for the amount of materials that you have to use, and this way it's a lot more customizable and just also contributes to a non-toxic world. Okay. This is an example of what I would use for like a sound booth, an isolation booth. They work great for sound reflections and in general, and even with like, I wanted to have a big space that we can actually host workshops for music production and informing more about mycelium insulation, and also like breath work is a very popular thing that people would want to come to this space and experience it, and also get to play with this plants. And these are mycelium yoga blocks for more functions to this. Oh man, okay. It's not gonna play, but the why, it's fun, music is important, it's healing, and it's just good for helping reduce the waste and also make things more alive. And all these videos, okay. And yeah, it could be made anywhere with space, and okay, yeah, anyway. Thanks.
my name is Sandy Betts, and first I'd like to thank. Here we go. Okay. My name is Sandy Betts, and first I'd like to thank Metabolic Studios for allowing all of us to have this space to grow our ideas and to now share them. I am an LAUSD parent volunteer, and because there's so much interest here today with these projects, I'm just going to cut to the chase and then get into the details later. So LAUSD has devoted many resources to greening schools, and there are an abundance of environmental nonprofits that are partnering with schools. However, there is no clear path for school community volunteers to navigate the systems and resources. My proposal is to collaboratively create the School Greening Coalition. It is a framework that will be co-created. It is a framework that will be co-created effort of school community members and volunteers. We will build the greenhouse to allow the seeds that have already been planted to sprout. And while today I'll speak specifically about LAUSD, this proposal is open to anyone that wants to green a school anywhere. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Back one more. Okay, so I'd like to start off by sharing these two schoolyard images. One is a lush vegetable garden with lots of greenery, and the other is has a few painted game lines, a basketball hoop, and is nicely laid out on a vast array of asphalt. Next. These photos are actually of the same space. It's the lower yard of Aldama Elementary in Highland Park. The left one is 1931. The school was built in 1924. So that's the way the school was designed. And the right is the exact same space today in 2024. A lot of schools were actually designed originally incorporating full gardens with vegetable hands-on learning spaces. So who is LAUSD? It is the nation's second largest school district, LA's largest landowner, covering 710 square miles. Just shy of 5 million people live within these boundaries. There are 1,200 school sites, which are represented by the blue dots on the map. LAUSD created the Green Schools for All resolution in 2023 that sets the lofty goal to have every campus 30% green by 2035. There are $1.25 billion bond funds allotted for greening projects. They also have recently created the Eco-Sustainability Office division that will oversee all greening implementation. LA understands the urgency for green schoolyards. So what is the current process? Right now, there are several avenues to identify a school for greening, involving the Eco-Sustainability Office, the Facilities Division, school board members, environmental nonprofits, and if a school is lucky, an environmentally minded principal. And yes, the community can also self-advocate for a green schoolyard. But what does the process look like for that volunteer? Where do they go? To the district, to the principal, to the PTA? Oh my gosh. Okay, so where do they go? There's lots of options, there's lots of resources, and it's just really confusing. So when LAUSD has set a goal to green all schools to 30%, they need the support of not only the third-party partners, they need an empowered school community to help them achieve that goal. Okay, next. So we're proposing to create a framework that connects volunteers to volunteers instead of volunteers to systems and organizations. We want to connect the volunteers that have done the work, written the grants, organized the beautification days, scheduled the meetings, navigated the systems, provided the food for all of the volunteers with the families that want to begin the process. So we want to personalize, so these are all the benefits from the way that it is now to creating our framework. If we can personalize the outcomes, every neighborhood and school community has a unique neighborhood and culture and community needs and priorities. When the members lead their own undevelopment, okay, then we get green schoolyards that are personal to the neighborhood. So this is actually, okay, all right. So the volunteers, they're already doing the work. They're not waiting for the bond dollars and all of that, so.
Again, full presentations are printed out on that table. Sophia, you ready?
Thank you so much.
Hey, my name is Sophia. I grew up in Van Nuys. I currently live in historic Filipino town. I love LA. I'm a touring musician. In my free time, I volunteer as a wildlife facilitator. And I started at the Marine Mammal Care Center in San Pedro, working with seals and sea lion. And now I volunteer at the California Wildlife Center that deals with all sorts of native wildlife. They also have a marine mammal department. Okay, yeah, maybe the next slide. Okay, so kind of what inspired this project is I became the person that all my friends would call when they found an injured animal and they were like, what do we do? And I would be like, oh, I wish I had more resources. I wish I had a database that I could point you towards that would help you figure it out on your own. Because I don't know everything about it. So yeah, basically, I'm sure we've all, some of us probably have encountered these problems in real life. I think we also need tools to encourage our friends and neighbors about how to coexist with wildlife and how to compassionately support and live with them. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So yeah, our community definitely needs a very comprehensive resource that can be used to educate each other about coexisting with wild species, and also connects members of the public to groups and individuals that are rescuing and rehabilitating these species. There are a lot of organizations that are doing this work, but people just don't know how to get to them. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the Wildlife Resource Network database would be for this purpose. I'd imagine that there would be easily downloadable and distributable educational material that people could use to educate themselves and their neighbors about how we incorporate support for coexistence into our lives. I think deep ecology is a great sort of approach towards achieving this goal. Okay, next slide. An ecocentric approach is really what we need. I think we all agree to support other non-human lives. Next slide, thanks. So it would function as an online database and toolkit that people could access from anywhere. Yeah, in my fantasies, what if there was also a deep ecology library attached to it, where you could access, philosophical material about this subject. So yeah, I think we'd need graphic designers, website builders, connections to educators, wildlife rehabs, wildlife management, biology, ecologists, stuff like that. Okay, how much time do I have? 1 minute, great. Okay, so some of the things I think we could address on this website would be, what are compassionate ways of dealing with unwanted visitors on our property? What roles do these species play in the ecosystem? How do we respect and support wild animals? Do we haze them? Do we keep our distance? What do you do if you see entangled marine life? Is rabies still a thing? What's up with bird flu? Why is rehabilitation and release important? How do I find the appropriate rehabber for this injured hawk I just found in my backyard? How are animals using urban infrastructures to their advantage? How exactly are these animals coming to flourish in urban environments? I think that we all would really benefit from this type of knowledge. Just want to make it easily accessible, so thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jared Ellis. I'm really excited to be here. I'm from Riverside, California, but I went to school and been living in LA for the past 10 years, so I'm a proud Angelino. Yes, thank you. I'm an art designer. My studio is Hoop Dream Studios. We take basketball off the court and to the world of design and culture through storytelling and creating a bunch of cool stuff. So my project is the undevelopment hoop. It's similar to Yeah, so the what, kind of reconnecting communities to nature. I was really inspired hearing Diego speak last week and learning about LA and development of the city and yeah, and then the communities that have been affected, which is redlining and all that stuff. But and then basketball is just universal language within urban communities, the Black communities. I mean, the basketball hoop itself, I feel like is the cornerstone in all communities, and where a lot of stuff goes down, good and bad. And I think bringing nature to this space could be really great and kind of open up doors and awareness. So what is it here? So the hoop itself is similar to Lauren's work and the work they do here at Metabolic. The way I see it would be essentially a structure similar to the ones outside that can hold landslide and the debris material inside here. And the hoop would be fully functional. And so each shot will kind of replicate humans' interaction with nature. And also, so each shot, I would imagine the debris would come down similar to the works like outside. And then also for the rim and the net, they would be seed infused. So each shot would kind of dispense seeds throughout the net, kind of populate the ground. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then the bottom, as you see, the triangle, which I was super inspired by. And quick little lesson, like in basketball, the triangle plays like a big part. The triangle offense, which was used by like Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, and Kobe Bryant. And something that triangle offense, something that we reference a lot in my studio, which is the offense of passing the ball, constant moving, the cycle, and being unselfish, which I feel like aligns with Metabolic and the work you do here. So where, yeah, I think the neighborhoods, underserved neighborhoods such as South LA, Watts, Compton, and yeah, and areas like Inglewood. I feel like Inglewood is developing so much they could use like a slap of undevelopment there, which would be great. And then also maybe collectors are willing to buy. I think it could be a piece that we could sell and put all the funds back into these amazing undeveloped projects growing. And so, yeah, and then timeline wise, I'm thinking, I don't know, whenever, I'll down to start tomorrow and get going on it. But yeah, then the labor and community, I think workshops. Let's get it. Let's do it. And yeah, I think it'd be really great just to be able to work with all you guys here and non-developers and see what kind of ideas we can come up with, and volunteers and workshops and talks. I feel like really great. And then I feel like it can be scaled. It doesn't have to be a big giant hoop like the 14-foot one that I made, but it can be small. It can be a mini hoop and still have the same idea. And even scaling it to things like River fish tank hoop, which this would be like a 30-gallon tank. I know this. I don't know how functional this one would be, but I referenced the fish tank over there. And it could have native species and thing like that. So thank you.
That was sick. That was super tight. It's gonna be hard to match that. Hello everyone, my name is Ian Ricardo. Thank you so much for being here, and to all the other developers that have already shared. I got a lot to cover, and it's kind of contradictory to slow culture centers, so I'm gonna move through it kind of quickly, but I'm gonna really do my best to not get too lost in the sauce. So I wanted to start the presentation with a quote about optimism. So optimism is a strategy for making a better future, because unless you believe that the future can be better, you are unlikely to step up and take responsibility for making it so. Noam Chomsky. And just a little bit about me. I'm a fine artist, a designer, an educator, and a passionate permaculture designer myself. Over 12 years ago, there was an abandoned lot behind my parents' place in Compton, where I grew up in South LA. And I ended up really forming a relationship and a bond with this piece of land, which was neglected over time. And I grew up next to the LA River, so I would often stare at the dirt as a child, and it was completely desiccated and had no organic material, so water would run off of it. And I was like, man, even though dirt in Compton sucks, like it doesn't even hold water, what's going on? Plants don't grow here, it's all this grass. After cultivating this piece of land, I ended up realizing that it had not been loved for a really long time, and its natural resources of having native plants that reintroduce biomaterial and organic matter into it had been completely strangled. So it was my job to realize where those resources were being shipped off to and reintroduce them so I can start growing food. So I'm sure most of us have already seen an abandoned lot or some sort of undeveloped piece of land awaiting maybe a strip mall or like a Howlin' Rays or something. But I think my proposal here is there are over 40,000 empty lots in Los Angeles. Over 10% of those are publicly owned. What could we use with these spaces? My solution to this is to build slow culture centers. So taking either derelict or abandoned or lots awaiting development and undeveloped, create centers where we can really slow down. We need to slow down. We're over caffeinated, over communicated, we're so distracted. How do we slow down? How do we actually forge intimate relationships with individuals? And this was kind of my attempt at this multi kind of form of multiple disciplines kind of coming together and crystallizing into this project. So at the heart of the pillar of my life is wellness. Wellness is a right for everyone. It shouldn't be only marketed to the rich or brands or things or spaces that you can be in. Yoga has absolutely transformed my life. So yoga for everyone, breathwork for everyone, meditation. That's me on the right. I live, breathe, and do this stuff. And it's benefited me greatly. And I think that introducing that in ways where you don't feel alienated. I feel like there's a global health decline. The red statistic there, this is the undevelopers mapping tool that I saw. So the red communities are disadvantaged communities, and the purple ones are cardiovascular disease. And right over Compton, it's around 80 to almost 100% cardiovascular disease. Food insecurity, food fix. We produce a ton of waste. There's no reason why we should be starving and malnourished. This isn't food. This is food. We can grow things regeneratively. Seed-saving, community-grown food, composting. We need that. Alma Backyard Farms in Compton, go visit them. The Ecology Center in San Juan Capistrano, I love them. Food preservation, not preservatives. Learn how to preserve food, not chemicals. Come on. Educate and empower and equip individuals. Everyone who's going to come to these spaces will be educated. I believe it should be artist-led, led by native tribes, ancestral knowledge, unearth all of it. Art installations. Artists should have the freedom, the same capacity that corporations have the capacity to destroy. Let's go, Lauren. Architecture, art, geodesic domes, all of it. It should be a part of it. Grow your own food in another city as possible. Let's link like mycelium.
Hi everyone, my name's Gina, and I'm here to talk about dirt bags, renewing Mother Nature one truckload at a time. So the seed for this idea was just planted a few days ago on Wednesday, so it's definitely more an idea form. And the focus of it is on soil, right? So most of us here know the importance of soil. Soil is basically the skin of the earth, right? Providing a lot of ecosystem services, and you all can just read the chart. And one thing that's a fun little factoid the next time you all are outside is to know that 25% of the Earth's biodiversity is actually found in our soils. So, it may not look alive, but underneath there's plenty of life. And what's the problem with soil? Well, in California, so this is just, it's probably happening globally, the amount of development is really creating a lot of excess soil, movement of soil. So I just took some charts and pictures from what's happening in California today. Within a 4-mile radius, we have over 20 development projects happening. California has a mandate to build 2.5 million new units of housing. The Olympics are coming, Los Angeles. So with all of this, there's going to be tons of movement of dirt. And the question is, what are we doing with this dirt? Is it healthy? Is it not healthy? And then if it's not healthy, also, what are we doing with it? The second problem then is actually, it turns out California has been shipping a lot of contaminated dirt to other states with lower requirements for hazardous materials. Not only is this pretty, full of hypocrisy, but also there's obvious issues to the communities that live near these landfills.
And so for some numbers, as of 2017, we've shipped 660,000 tons of contaminated dirt to Arizona and just under 1 million tons of contaminated dirt to Utah. And this picture is of the South Yuma County landfill in Arizona, which is located near the Colorado River Tribal Indian Reservation. So really exacerbating, like kind of our waste is not being disposed of properly. So from an optimist perspective, what can we do? Based off some of the things that you all are doing here at Metabolic Studios, how can we figure out a more circular solution? How can we take dirt or soil that is healthy here? How can we make sure it's being put to the highest and best use and maybe help to remediate some of the soil here that's contaminated and or create more green spaces and nature? And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of research to be done. One thing I found that was interesting is that actually in Canada and Ontario in 2019, they passed regulation on how to manage dirt, and they have an excess soil inventory to really make sure that dirt's being properly utilized. So that's it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adam, and I'm presenting on a concept that I've called Florazone. Some of you might recognize that font if you're a big car person. It'll make sense in a second. So the why. I think the American Southwest has been developed as this like cementatious pillow, just smothering the collective spirit. And also there's two issues. We also have a pretty large housing crisis in Los Angeles, as you're all very familiar. And so I figured that based on my experience with the tiny home community in Echo Park, right next door to the apartment I live in, that would be an awesome opportunity to take a vacant lot and turn that into a garden that would develop that community's land stewardship, would heal some soil right next door to AutoZone, and then also foster a space for people to find some connection and purpose. So this is actually, it was inspired partially by LA Green Grounds. They're a community garden in Culver City, and they managed to get land from the utility, from LADP, which is underneath these power lines, on the condition that they just will give it back if they want to do something with it, that's pretty dicey. But they've managed to turn it into this magnificent space that has held its ground for almost a decade. And I don't think the utility has any interest in now taking it back. I'm proposing along this very tiny lot here. This is Alvarado Street and Scott, for any of you familiar with Echo Park. This is the tiny home community, and between a residential lot and them is this large that has been vacant for a number of years. It is run by these three interest groups, or I guess these are the people of interest. There's the Bureau of Engineering, Urban Alchemy, who runs the tiny home village. And then I called the county assessor and I found out this guy, Jack Nurofshin of Kirkby Properties, technically owns that lot. We don't know who he is. I doubt he's ever been there. And, but who is this for? So this is a place where the unhoused community and the local residents can come together, bridge class that typically, these classes that self-segregate, and also a place for pollinators, of course. And this is a very dynamic area with parkways, businesses, residences, and just, I guess, for some background, the tiny home community houses about 74 people, or can at its peak. They provide medical care, case management, 3 meals a day. They've got showers, everything. They have a dog run, but they have no flora. They have no plants or anything, and they don't really have activities. They have one basketball hoop, and I think that would be a killer thing to put there. And they also, I talked to one of the guys standing outside. His name's Earl. He carts stuff around on Alvarado all the time. And when I asked him if anyone had interest in a garden there, he and pardon my language, but this is a quote, "A garden, that'd be bitchin'." And so, and he said he would come back to help tend it. He was very excited about it. He's lived there for about a year and has wanted with that base. So this is the space. There's the AutoZone, and there's where I imagine the Florazone, right along that fence. Fence is great. It's already there. You could grow all sorts of, thank you, squash. This is the space. So, oh, one of my photos I guess is missing. Oh, there it is. So it's already growing. I just climbed the fence with a vest and a hard hat. No one questioned me. That's a hot tip. Anyone wants to go somewhere, just wear a hard hat. I went in, I got some soil, and Diego kindly is testing that now to see what the contents are, but I can't imagine it's very good. And timeline, really as soon as possible. Spring is coming, so ideally the sooner the better. But I want to contact the site managers, break some ground, involve folks, build a tool shed, create a space for these folks to come and gather and find some peace, maybe have oil workshops, a seed library, seed starting and composting. And yeah, keep it there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gerardo Reyes, and I'm with Adam. Great project. I like it. I like the other projects too. It's a little chilly here. I'm looking at people with blankets, but it's nice to see shade, even though it's cool right now. Sometimes it's too hot in Los Angeles. So shade with oak trees is a really good idea. When you see places like this, you realize that it doesn't take very much to plant some trees. And I see places. This is across the street from my house. My house is over on that side. This is my neighbor's place, and it's very empty. He has trees on the other side, but on this side, he has the opportunity to plant. I think it would be good for maybe maybe 2 or 3 oak trees, coastal oaks. They grow pretty large. You need about maybe 25 to 30 feet space. They can grow well. They need resources. They need the parkway is maybe 8 by 100 feet. 8 wide by 100 feet long. So there's plenty of space. So it's just a matter of convincing my neighbor to do it. I would help him. I think we can get the place to look like our side of the street is nice and green and shady, and people like it. So I think that it's just a matter of helping the trees grow. We planted our trees about maybe 20 years ago, and by now those tipos are taller than the house. We have 2 tipos, we have 2 olive trees, and a lot of little plants all around. So we have planted. I'm from a tropic, so I'm used to trees. I'm from Chiapas in Mexico, so we have just tons of vegetation. So I like to replicate that when places I go to. I like to plant stuff. What it would take is my neighbor to be willing to plant. I would help him, and then maybe to get the city to approve it. Maybe get trees from the city, and we would be able to do it. I got this written with the help of Claude, and I asked Claude to help me convince my neighbor, who has been there for a long time, to plant trees. And so it's a matter of convincing somebody that they want to do something to be remembered by. I was thinking of my grandfather, my mother's father. He planted a tree when he was a young man. By the time I saw it, it was maybe about 30 feet high. So it's kind of a monument to a person and to a place, I think. So anyway, I hope he does it. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, I'm going to be relying very heavily on phone notes, so pardon that. All right, my name is Rob Wadley, and I'm a guerrilla gardener and filmmaker. I live and do most of my gardening in Northeast LA. This is my guerrilla plot. And yeah, guerrilla gardening can be an uphill struggle. I've been working on this particular plot for roughly 4 years now, along with a number of other locals. And as you can see here, it's looking all right, but maybe a little sparse considering the 4 years that we've been working on it. And the reason that I guerrilla garden, aside from the pleasure of it, is because LA has a ton of land that it isn't able to look after properly, and I think it's our right to have access to natural native landscapes. Thanks. This is a fire that happened in Debs, which is like a pretty well taken care of park, but it still has like so much, just like fields of mustard that like catch on fire like it did in August. Let's see. Urban green spaces naturally keep surrounding neighborhoods cooler in the summer, and trees produce stress-relieving phytochemicals, which is obviously we all want more of that. But making progress has been challenging and slow-going, so I've been looking to find ways to push things forward more efficiently and effectively. Most traditional forms of planting require large nursery, money for soil and fertilizer, and tons of people hours, but there's one solution that has been having a little bit of a moment right now. It's microforests. I'm sure some of y'all have heard of microforests. Microforests are very effective for quickly rewilding disturbed land. As you can see here on the right is a microforest, and then the control group is just a traditionally planted forest on the left. And this is after 3.5 years. And obviously there's a clear winner there. Okay, so I don't know if this, I don't think this is going to play, and I don't have time for it anyways, but this is Meiji Jingu, which is what the original microforest was inspired by. And it inspired Akira Miyawaki to come up with the idea of microforests. He dedicated his life to developing this technique and planting microforests all over Japan and all over the world. His technique creates the environment for these microforests to grow up at 10 times faster than traditionally planted vegetation. And I found out about microforests because LA-based horticulturalist Catherine Pacarduni adopted the method to work in the drier Southern California climate and chaparral ecosystems, and recently planted a 10,000 square foot microforest in Ascot Hills Park in El Sereno, which I got to volunteer at a few times. I don't think we're gonna be, oh, you can kind of see it here in this video thumbnail. But as you can see, it's a pretty large area that required a sizable nursery and lots of water and volunteers to make it happen. So since a traditional microforest plot won't work for me due to cost and space factors, I have been coming up with, I've been observing what's been happening in my garden and watching the seeds and rhizomes that come up naturally. And I've been trying to come up with a strategy to let plants plant themselves. And from those observations, I've come up with the concept for nanoforests, or nanoplots, something that will be much more manageable for someone working at my scale. It's based around creating conditions for seeds to sprout so that you can skip the whole nursery step. And my current strategy is to put larger subtrees and perennials on the inside with prolific cedars and rhizomatic plants closer to the outside so that they naturally spread outward as they mature. And this technique is designed to be modular and potentially used to cover larger areas by being planted throughout a broader landscape with the intention that they will mature and naturally, as they naturally fill in the gaps with the help from more resilient seeds being planted throughout. And my hope is that in time, with much more attention from humans, they will grow together. Here's some experiments here's some experiments that I've got going on right now. There's a 10 plant plot right here on the left and a 2 here. They're very simple, and I've got about 4 in total right now. So there's some challenges here. I'm not going to get into them, but here they are, and some potential solutions. And I hope to hear from people who actually know what they're doing. Botanists, come talk to me after.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Celanese, and this concept of environment's eminent domain is something I've been thinking about for a while. So this proposes reclaiming the land between multi-million-dollar mansions to regenerate invasive grass easements into thriving nature habitats for wildlife.
Hello, I am Rachel Celanese, and this is my undevelopment proposal for a pollinator superhighway. If half of American lawns were replaced with native plants, we would create the equivalent of a 20 million acre national park. LA County is the most urbanized area to be designated a global biodiversity hotspot. Right in the center of LA lies our big backyard. At the base of this ecological landmark, the mile-long stretch of Los Feliz Boulevard has the potential to become a park of its own. There are multiple vehicle entrances to Griffith Park, so let's regenerate equitable wildlife boulevards for our more than human neighbors. Over 100 years ago, community members in Los Feliz planted these trees to beautify the boulevard. It's come a long way, but we can do better to build on this legacy. The fast-moving 4-lane road is hazardous for wildlife. The 20-foot easement between the sidewalk and curb may keep humans safe, but leaves only spaced out cedars towering above a green wall of turf lawns for wildlife. Undeveloping the green wall means restoring healthy ecosystem function, healing the soil, increasing biodiversity, and creating the conditions for an interconnected web of life to thrive. Lawns offer little to no habitat for native species, leading to a decline in insect populations and other wildlife already under stress from urbanization and climate change. Current care of these lawns seems to stop at mow and blow, though many homeowners are returning to native vegetation, and this project would nurture that positive transition. Stewarding the land, the goal is to provide food, shelter, and nesting sites for pollinators. Pollinator corridors are pesticide-free pathways that offer continuous habitat, forage, and refuge for vulnerable native species. Unlike the soon-to-be monumental wildlife corridor over the 101 that will be protecting our apex species, a pollinator corridor acts as invisible infrastructure for some of our smallest. The empowered participation of residents creating habitats to be in right relationship with their local more than human neighbors will support the range of diverse insects and birds in their own backyards. We'll be using low impact development to mimic a site's natural hydrology, increase water capacity, and mitigate the impacts of climate change. This saves water, wildlife, and money. This isn't just a project for residents though, even tourists can benefit. Griffith Park welcomes 10 million visitors each year, so let's give them more than just selfies to bring home.
Rewilding this 1 mile stretch will happen in phases. While under construction, there's a great public education component with opportunities for interpretive signage and demonstrations, accessible zero-cost ideas like seed sharing libraries, and citizen science workshops involving the community and data collection.
An equitable transition that prioritizes historically marginalized communities without access to green space is most important. The timeline is really adaptable. It could align with the existing Ferndale restoration and stormwater capture project to consciously transition this entire area into a more biodiverse connector. The project leverages the Los Angeles Countywide Sustainability Plan, goal number 5, biodiversity, to increase the amount of protected wild ecosystems. This also intersects the interests of an array of potential partners, highlighting the collaborative nature of this project. Less lawns, more biodiversity. Stay in touch and let's see what undevelops. Thank you.
Sorry for the audio glitches. I put that thing together.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Seeger, and I am both a third-generation native Southern Californian and son of an immigrant family, and the architect for the Ecology Center in San Juan Capistrano. So the Ecology Center was founded in 2008 by our director, Evan Marks, and originally we had 1 acre surrounding this historic Congdon house, which was the first wood frame structure built in the Capistrano Valley since the land had been cleared for farming in the late 1800s. Is that still going? So that's the first wood frame structure on the Juanino Hodgman land. And over the next 10 years, I showed up on day 2 after the founding, and over the next 10 years, we transformed this 1 acre site into a fully transformed ecological environment, offering experiences and education to visitors in the surrounding community. It's all built around a theory of change where we're working on our behaviors as individuals and our systems and working towards a culture shift towards living abundantly and building a sustainable future for all of us. And in 2019, we had the opportunity, to take over the 30-acre farm that we were positioned in, this house we saw earlier. And the last 5 years, we've transformed that into a fully integrated, regenerative organic farm that we're calling our first farm. So we're kind of positioning this as the first farm in a new generation of agriculture for Southern California. And it works on many different levels, working with the community, working with farmers, working with chefs, training farmers, raising children in this environment, and mentoring the next generation to bring new farming opportunities throughout Southern California. And so really, we're using the first farm as a hub to begin new farms. Our next farm is coming on in here in the Lenovia farm, also in San Juan Capistrano. And we've developed farms in other communities in San Diego County and Northern Orange County and Anaheim, partnering with school districts and partnering with other landowners. And what we're really working towards is transforming the food system in Southern California to create a whole network of new farms, infill urban farms, where there once was farming, bringing it back. And so here you see our farm in Capistrano, our farm in what we call Farm Lab in North County. There you go. This is our new farm. And the question mark represents where will this farm be? This is our farm in San Juan Capistrano. And so the pitch is really to invite all of us into this work, which I think is really the work of what undevelopment is asking for, but where we can all participate, whether it's just talking to your neighbors about farming and buying local organic produce, whether it's spreading seeds or starting a garden in your community, whether it's partnering with us to start a new farm on your school in your neighborhood, whether it's offering land as a landowner to bring a big farm back to LA. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, all right.
Last one.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Tim Martinez. I'm with a local land conservancy called the Arroyos and Foothills Conservancy. And before I get into our development project, our idea, I'd like to give a little bit of brief background about who we are, what AFC does. So again, we're a land conservancy, and we save natural open space in the San Gabriel Mountains and the San Rafael Hills and the Verdugo Mountains and down the Arroyo Seco, and even we would like to connect into Griffith Park. And when we first started out, we were trying to save land just for nature, but we realized that it's really important to connect these fragmented open spaces. Griffith Park, the Verdugos, the San Rafael Hills have become islands of habitat where wildlife can't easily get in or out. I'm sure we all are familiar with famous P22, the Hollywood mountain lion of Griffith Park. He was a great example of a mountain lion that was really kind of stuck in an island of habitat. So our mission has expanded to try to connect these islands with wildlife corridors by saving land strategically, because that is the #1 way that we can preserve this special biodiversity in California, especially in the face of climate change. We need to keep those genes moving, and not only for the animals, but for the plant life as well. So that really is sort of our strategic mission. We work with wildlife camera trappers, community scientists who capture these amazing images that I think really tell the story of our urban wildlife. And we engage in wildlife camera studies as well. So here's a mountain lion looking over, I think that's probably Glendale. You can see Griffith Park in the background. Beautiful mule deer and bears. And so I think this really tells a story about these islands of habitat. Beautiful bobcats. You can go on our website and we have all sorts of great photos. We have volunteers. So once we create nature preserves, and we probably have about 100 acres of nature preserves in our region, we work with the community up to have friends groups that manage and steward the land. We have volunteers that help to do habitat restoration, trail work. We have a robust field trip program, and we have free transportation, free field trips. We get kids from all over the LA region out into the foothills for nature education, and especially in underserved communities, because transportation is one of the biggest barriers to getting kids out in nature. So we help provide that. And this is our big idea. Something that is probably our most ambitious project to date is we are pursuing the conservation, the acquisition of an almost 80-acre site in the foothills of Altadena that's called the Nuccio Nursery Site. So Nuccio's is an old nursery, I think they go back to like the 30s, and they specialize in camellias and azaleas, but they're going out of business, and there was a proposal to sell it to a local private school, and that was adamantly opposed by the community in Altadena. There would have been a lot of lighting, underground parking, traffic, sports games, light pollution, noise pollution, and it's right in a wildlife area, wildlife corridor, and so people didn't want to see that in the community. They wanted to see something different. So AFC is interested in conserving this property, and this is our idea. First of all, there's a really great native plant nursery called Tree of Life that's going out of business. And there's probably, I think, I'd have to check on this, I think there's probably about 13 acres of usable nursery site at Nuccio's. The rest of it is mountains, as you can see. It's habitat, it's wilderness, it's the Altadena Crest Trail goes through here. But there is also this big flat, acreage of nursery site. So we think that we can help fill the void and provide native plants for all of your undevelopment projects. I think that's very exciting. Not only a native plant nursery, but we envision somewhere that we can do green jobs training, that we can provide this type of education for especially the local youth in Altadena, for urban youth of color especially. Altadena is one of the most diverse areas in Los Angeles County. Someone mentioned redlining. This was one community back in the day where especially Black families could buy homes without redlining. So it has a rich diversity, and I think that we could really have a lot of nature education, green jobs training, Indigenous people. Thank you.
Amazing. Can we give another round of applause for the 18? When you look behind you, some people are standing up to applaud you. Again, amazing. We were floored by all of the different proposals and by everybody coming up and giving all these great ideas. And so now I'm going to ask the presenters to come up here because we're going to move into the Q&A portion. So you're going to just hang out up here. We're going to be moving this microphone over to where it should be. So if you have any questions or comments, please come up to this microphone. And then you guys, if we could just, the microphone. Comments, questions? Don't be shy. Aaron's here to. All right.
Hi, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, and thank you so much for so many wonderful presentations. Warren, thank you so much for even creating this space for these ideas. The common thread of undevelopment is amazing, and the creativity is fantastic. Poetry, Florazone, I get it, funny. Nancy, okay. So poetry. And this isn't a question, it's really a comment. You were talking about tree wells. And again, I'm a civil engineer. My name is Mark. So I look at tree wells and you see the constraints that are around, right? ADA access and sidewalk space and parkways. The City of Los Angeles Bureau of Engineering has a standard plan for tree wells. It's downloadable and it needs updating. And maybe during a taco, we can talk about ways to submit comments. It would be great to get them to make spaces larger for activities like that, and which would help a lot of things like trees across the street, oaks across the street. Fantastic ideas. So anyways, thank you so much.
Hi, yeah, I'm Nina Weissman, and thank you all so much. It was like so incredibly inspiring and exciting. I noticed, and it's probably true for more than these two, but for Sandy Wietz and Sophia Araguin or Araguin, and that a big part of what you'll need to do is, or what you're working on is to organize, people and resources and centralize it so everyone can access. And I just was thinking, there maybe among you or others in the room or Metabolic would know who can give them a quick course or a slow course in getting that part together, because it's been done many times, so that you don't have to invent that piece because you've already invented something. So that was thought.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. My question is actually for our Tongva relative. And I think her being here is really important, and it relates to all of the undevelopment. So I know, even as an artist with self-help graphics and art, we have come to an understanding that all of these projects and all of these wonderful intentions and aspirations, we want to involve the Tongva, Chumash, and Kiz relatives. And I just am wondering what your perspective is, because there's also a lot of responsibility that's placed on our Indigenous relatives, and the needs for resources, or how could we support the involvement of the Tongva and Indigenous folks into all of these projects. So if you could speak to that, that would be really wonderful.
Thank you. And also, I just want to say, everyone's local projects were so creative and so really just got it. You can tell each of you really put your passion, your heart, and dedication into your projects and proposals. So I just want to give you, just praise for that. So, no, just kind of listening to you, and I really, grateful for this mentioning, Indigenous immigration. And I think it's really important to kind of going into here, especially with, how the land back movement is getting so much traction, so much movement. And working, it's really important to develop and curate relations with projects such as these. Because to us, especially with my nation, we're really about Indigenous education advocacy. And I really believe that before you even do anything, there must be that level of willing to educate not only about the environmental sciences, and because that's directly in line with our Indigenous traditions and ways and ceremony, but also too, it should give a place where we have that kind of teaching about the Indigenous peoples, the lands that we're on, especially a lot of lands we're talking about have very important significance to us, especially when we're near some of our ancestral religions. So I really recommend you kind of look deeper. And like I said, I'm here to meet after. If you have any questions about, if that's, if you're reaching out around the whole Indigenous knowledge and education, and I just want to let you know that there's here at all the Indigenous groups that call Los Angeles our central home. And not to be afraid to reach out to that, but I really hope any kind of spaces come with a platform for Indigenous voices, highlighting Indigenous voices. I know land back, like I said, we were talking, and I'm talking. The land back is amazing, but it's very expensive. It's very expensive, especially learning from our stories of our 12 acres by us and by Monterey Hills. We understand, especially Indigenous people, it's not just us, it's our allies. It's people who support us, it's community support, the neighborhood support. Thankfully, the neighborhood that our land is, our villages on, our heritage villages, we do have a lot of community support, especially when people like, I'm also a scientist, and we love to, we have community tendencies. And I think it's really important to remember coming into that, and it's actually becoming resources on a lot of stuff that we talk about too, is medicine for us. So I really, really suggest and encourage
not to be afraid to reach out to tribal representation organizations. This is what we're here for, especially us that are actively working in, reforesting, reintroducing native plants, and if you need indigenous knowledge, we'll be here to help you when it comes to names or how we use it and how to, harvest it. You see a lot of things on sale and stuff like that. We have no clue where it's coming from. So I just really encourage that, encourage the spaces allow for indigenous use as well. There's a ceremony where, we're talking about goat trips, and that's what we're trying to use Yama Village for. But, if you have to get space, be a vessel for that in terms of have that cultural exchange, because this is what we're here for. This is what we're working. We're not, we're not here just doing our stuff. We're community outreach and organizational outreach and relations is so important. It's so vital because, just like, our land is reciprocal, our relation with the land, it is the same thing with our neighbors and our relatives too as well. So, I know it's a very, there's so many layers to be trying to go into. You're like, strategically, this is what you do. But I really hope, really encourage you to make your projects have that space for indigenous people. And like I said, we're out there.
About soil testing. You want to hear that now? After 6 weeks? Okay.
Constantly give back, but also remember what we take from it, we must give back. So it's reciprocal. Everything in our relational land, we don't believe in open land, we are a part of it. And I think this is really important to kind of go into that. So like I said, I am here, not us as travel people, we're here to help you and guide you in that. I know it's sometimes it's a little intimidating, and especially if you're not unfamiliar with travel relations, you have a conversation, but that's very important. So don't be scared.
Hi, I'm Jenna. Thank you so much for those insights and suggestions and reiterations, and thank you all for just incredible ideas and creativity. Just piggybacking on what our Tongva relative said, our organization, LA River Public, formerly known as LA River Public Art Project and now known as LA River Arts, the way that we involved Indigenous teachings, wisdom, and systems of knowledge is, as the funding has allowed, we've brought on Indigenous advisors onto staff. And that is, I encourage any of you to follow that pathway, as Metabolic Studio does as well, so that there is reciprocity and compensation for reaching out and including them in all of your decision making, and you will reap the benefits of doing that. So that's just a little tip. We've learned something that's, we're really benefiting from that. So I just wanted to share that. And I have a question for, sorry, it's in my notes. Rachel. Yeah, hi. Okay, so I love the pollinator superhighway concept. Can you imagine scaling that up to the 51 miles of the LA River?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that my idea came from, I live in that neighborhood and I walk that stretch all the time and I see all these walled off mansions and I'm like, what if we force the most powerful, wealthy people in this city to deal and learn and be part of an ecosystem, whether they like it or not? And then, yeah, of course, that could be all along the entire LA River. But it would be great if all those people in those multi-million-dollar houses helped fund it. So.
Right. I like the way you think. Right.
Anyone else have comments, questions? Everybody's a little shy. Ah, got it. Got one.
Hey, thank you so much to everyone. I completely gave up on asking the questions of each of you because then I would ask 19 questions. But I'm a writer, and so as a writer, I was thinking about how what you all just did could be centralized. I mean, I was trying to take a lot of photos of your slides, and it was going by so fast that I was thinking, oh, I hope this will be part of the website or part of some kind of, well, I mean, yeah, putting more work into the hands of Metabolic Studio, I guess. But and my other question, and part of the reason why I ask that is that I work in Chicago, and there's kind of there are a million people working on these issues there too, and I just really have a desire to have a super highway of undevelopment, connecting the major cities and sanctuary cities for wildlife and for all life. So this is just an invitation to help me think about how we can make those connections.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I guess I have more of a comment and like just something that came up as like I'm like inspired by hearing all of the kind of different projects individually and thinking about how they like coalesce together and really work as like a mega project. But my comment is mainly like is a statement of like in LA in this moment. I know some folks are like more in the art world than not in the art world, but there's just this big art festival happening right now called Getty Specific Standard Time, and it's all around the intersections of art and science. And I think one thing, it's coming to an end in January, February, but as like an art person, and I know there's a lot of people in the audience right now that are also art people, like I think this is a really important moment to think about how we can put pressure on art institutions and art spaces to continue the initiatives that they so-called said they were doing for this project, because they got a lot of money to do it. And I was really inspired. I forget who did it, but who was maybe it was you who was talking about the school projects, and thinking about volunteer to volunteer like communication. And I'm curious if part of undevelopment can be a way of linking like-minded communication patterns between all of these projects and the spaces that can make them happen in the city. Yeah.
Thank you guys. And I'm so excited for how these things will come into fruition. I represent the Surfrider Foundation English chapter. Our work primarily focuses on ocean health and the health of our beaches, but obviously that is so interconnected and tied to the health of our rivers and our watershed. A lot of these programs tie directly into our work, and I just want to extend volunteers. Specifically, we have a huge and deep volunteer network. So if any of you wants to collaborate or utilize that work, I'm so happy.
Everybody, my name is Parker. I'm here from Plant Community LA. We're a local nonprofit 501c3, and our mission is to support individuals and groups looking to do restoration, undevelopment type projects in their communities. And so we want to be a resource for you guys. So I would encourage you all to reach out if you guys are interested in looking for partners and collaborators, supporters, fiscal sponsors, stuff like that.
I'm an actor, I have to speak. Please have. Hey, each of you, your beauty, your heroic work, my God, it just, to Lauren's point about fluidity of concrete, you peeled back our concrete, you hacked into our hearts and our minds, and so Echo Park Books, thank you, make art, not merch. The goddamn Chicano art world, everything's for sale right now, everything. You cannot buy a t-shirt at Metabolic, you can't. They give you a hat, but you can't buy a T-shirt, and that's a beautiful thing. The gentleman with the basketball, a crucifixion basketball hoop, so people can play right through Easter. Thank you. You were we didn't hear the mushroom. We got, so let us know on Instagram or where we can hear. I think we could all hear it in our heads to anticipate it. Yeah. So yeah, just more just to cheerlead you all on. But as a writer, there's a lot of writers in the room. We're constantly pitching film and TV, and I'm ashamed of the amount of pitching that I have to do because we're rushing into development. And what I learned today is we got to rush into undeveloping our written ideas, because that's what we do every time we meet with Olan Jones and Lawrence libretto, her new opera. And I think I've got something concrete, and I come into the meeting and it's not concrete, it's fluid. We are in undevelopment right now with their project. And so it's real, and it's, you guys are giving it, young men and women and they and them, you're giving it value, you're giving it, you're making it real for us. And I loved all the ideas. Generationally, you young folks are beautifully fucking crazy. And these are not crazy ideas. They are just beautiful. And I was reading, you were inspiring. I saw a lot of writers writing, and we were taking notes off your work, but we were, play poetry of Berkeley, California. The beginning of really Chicano poetry was 1950. Ginsberg is in Berkeley at the same exact fucking moment. And those words of the first Chicano poets in Berkeley in 59, year of my birth, I'm not, those words, the poetry is baked in the Ohlone mud of the bay. They're baked in that hard pan, the Ohlone hard pan. And that's what we're doing here with Lauren and Metabolic every week. We're going into the hard pan. We're going into we're peeling back, and we're finding words and seeds and lives and value. Thank you all.
I think that might be the end of the open comments period with Mike, but just a reminder, we have a basket over there. Please leave comments on the comment cards for any of the presenters, and then Lauren's gonna take over.
Not take over, but call out, and Kelly's gonna pass out your diplomas, undeveloper diplomas, yes. So starting with closing remarks, I couldn't possibly say it better than Richard. So I will say that thanks to Diego here, who sent, yes, and thanks to Kelly, who really anchored the teach-ins at the studio over the last 12 weeks. Diego sent all of what we wrote on the chalkboards, and I kind of spent some time with it last night and tonight before I listened in order to deliver the closing reflections for your diplomas. So, undevelopment challenges the assumptions of what progress means, inviting us to reverse harm and reimagine futures rooted in care, reciprocity, and adaptability. It is not merely a rejection of development, but a practice of healing, healing of the land, healing of the communities, and healing of ourselves. By engaging with natural systems, with traditional knowledge, and questioning inherited structures, we embrace collaborative action. We create new possibilities for abundance and interconnectedness. Let us listen, let us learn, and let us move forward together.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to call out each fellow who will come get their undevelopment diploma, which is a limited edition print of the undevelopment of the larger watershed of the Intermountain West, as well as a silk scarf, which is an undevelopment strategy of the gutters that feed the LA River and the Arroyo Seco, starting with Hannah, who's not here, so we'll just put one aside to send it. Let's hear it for Lonnie. Thank you for expanding our notions of boundaries through sound. Let's hear it for Nancy. Thank you for reminding us that land conversations with the land questions those boundaries. Let's hear it from Matthew. Let's call in those workshops in 2025. Let's call in Leslie. We need that ending library and that toolkit and the zeolites on tap here. Congratulations, Isaac. We'll get that free lead test going too. Jasmine. We're on that recording studio with you. Let's make it happen. Let's call on Sandy. Thank you so much. And we need more organizing, and that Green Coalition needs to happen right away. Sophia. That wildlife database is a brilliant idea. Jarrett, what can I say? I want one of those hoops right away. I think we all do. Ian. Let's get those 40,000 empty lots some landslide debris this year. Gina. 2.5 million new units of housing need a new strategy of where to take that soil. Let's get on that. Adam, we'll be there February 12th to undo that parking lot. It's that second full moon of the year. Gerardo, thank you for your stewardship of those trees and showing what community stabilization can bring. Rob, thank you for the microforest strategy and sharing what you're doing. Rachel and the Pollinator Superhighway, thank you so much. Andrew, thank you so much for your skills and your interest. And last but not least, Tim, for Patchwork Ecological Network Pasadena on top of that. Yeah, we are one watershed. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, guys. Okay, stay up here. We're gonna ask you to put your hats on. We're gonna do a photo. For anybody who has an idea about an undevelopment, we have a whiteboard back there. So please write your ideas down. And we will be posting these recordings, and so you will be able to see them again, and that will come at some point soon. We're going to open that roll-up door, and outside at tacos. We'll come back in a little bit and have a little bit. We'll talk through the food, but go and enjoy the tacos. Give yourselves a round of applause for braving the cold weather. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks.
Yeah,